I remember Cece and I were in concert at the Greek Theater.
Yeah.
And she was singing a solo, and I was on the side, and Stevie Wonder was standing with me. And Stevie says to me, "You know, you're a great writer." And I looked at him and said, "I know you blind, but are you deaf too?"
It's so great that you are. I get to meet you in person.
Yes.
We've not met before, but I have met many of your family.
Mm-hmm.
I actually spent time in Detroit
Really?
many years ago with Ronald.
Ah, really?
Yeah, I was staying at Ronald's house, and during that time, obviously, I met your older brother and many of the Winans clan. Yeah, that's my claim to fame.
Wow!
And
if you look behind me, I'm in my piano room, but if you look behind me, that's Ronald's wall.
Absolutely amazing, an amazing guy who really reached out to me in the UK as well. So when he came here in the UK, I actually played for him as well, playing guitar. But you know, we got talking about worship and various things like that. So, and then the invitation to come over to Detroit and spend time with him and just hang out, you know. I mean, it really was a hangout, you know. We just like ate food and chatted, and as Ronald would do it. And some years ago, I think Cece was about 18. She came to London. I think it was her first trip to London, and it was my sister that she kind of hooked up with. And I used to work near this famous market. And so Cece came to see me at work when I was working in industry. And we spent some time together shopping. Well, I didn't do the shopping. I just walked around. It really is an honor. It really is an honor meeting you, you know, and getting to just have a conversation with you. You know, I think my conversation really is about, you know, where it all started and what was the ethos, or what was the heart behind, or the inspiration behind, you know, starting your music. You know,
that's the thing. It was never, you know, you dream of things, but it was never a pursuit. Growing up in my family, we were surrounded by music. You know, my mom and dad sang, and
mom and dad,
that was it. We loved it. We were passionate. So everywhere we had a chance to sing, whether that was in the choir at church or the choir in school, you know, me and Cece was in the same music class together. And you know, we grew up with the Clark sisters and various other people. And we were always at our, at the musicals and we were just in love with it. At the same time, you know, I tell the story even in a book that I've written, Born for This. Me and Cece was not planning to do a duet. It was Jim Baker who put us together to do this one song, Lord, lift us up where we
belong. Yeah, great song.
And he said, you're going to sing it, and you guys are going to sing it as a duet. That's how we became a duet.
Oh, wow.
We had to go back home and tell people that we were singing with, we're no longer a group. We are going as a duet. That didn't go over real well, but we knew that this was really what God wanted from us. And that's how BeBe and Cece became, you know, known as a duet, because didn't nobody know our nicknames except our family and the people from church. And so, so it got out.
That name BeBe, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, only Americans can name their kids after stuff that, do you know, my parents are from the Caribbean, so there's a sense where maybe names are very English, but it was like, BeBe, if I was African, what does BeBe mean, you know? What does it mean in Nigerian or Ghanaian, you know? That kind of scenario. It's like, but that's so cool.
And it didn't mean nothing. We had to really, we recorded it, but we had never wrote it down. So when things started happening in me and my sister's music career, you know, they were coming for autographs, and I was like, Cece looked at me and I looked at her, was like, how are we gonna spell it?
I mean, the thing is, I think one of the things, another thing I want to ask about, because obviously having been to Detroit several times and with some friends there and Ronald himself, I mean, that whole city, like the musical heritage.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, from what we call mainstream right through. And I want to talk to you about mainstream in a short while, because but that whole musical heritage, did that really inspire you? Talked about the Clark sisters, there's Fred Hammond, there was, you know, so many different guys that were doing, and they were linked together in some kind of way. What was that like, you know?
Well, that was definitely a part of just normal life for us. At the same time, you know, my father only allowed gospel music in the household, but when it snowed in Detroit, the kids, we knew, be the first one. If you get to that house that is a block and a half, you were shoveling Smokey Robinson's stairs, and if you went 2 blocks the other way, you would you were able to shovel Stevie Wonder's snow, and 4 blocks the other way, that was the Four Tops, and another mile down, Gladys Knight's house. So we were surrounded by music in the house, outside of the house. And it was the type of music that is still you put it on today. It is the blueprint of life, you know, our lives. And so we in the church, we wanted to be as professional and as good, because we felt like the King of Kings should be represented in this way. So it influenced me, you know, and then to meet these people and become friends of these people, and these people become fans of ours, and then we sing together. It was just like, I never dreamed that would happen. I mean, come on, you know. I remember Cece and I were in concert at the Greek Theater.
Yeah.
And she was singing a solo, and I was on the side, and Stevie Wonder was standing with me. And Stevie says to me, you know, you're a great writer. And I looked at him and said, I know you blind, but are you deaf too? I mean, seriously.
That is so cool.
Stevie Wonder can't be telling me that I'm a writer. This is the writerest man in the world.
I know, absolutely amazing. I mean, one of the things, and you just talked about, you know, the Detroit and how the whole, I think the atmosphere of Detroit really influenced you. You know, and obviously it was was it fairly competitive in the family? I mean, in a nice way. I don't know.
Not in a nice way, in a real, I'll make you cry way. Still is to this day. You did not want to come out with a horrible album or a horrible solo at the church or whatever. I mean, you knew, oh my God, my family's gonna chew me up. And so we didn't care about what other people said after we got out there. You couldn't break my heart, because I lived through the Winans family torture of criticism and even support, though.
In actual fact, you're one of the first artists and songwriters that I came to know, and obviously from afar, you know, where I am. I call it a special blueprint, which actually we probably see it a little bit more today, where here you are growing up in church, you are writing phenomenal, or you're part of a phenomenal gospel artistry, but you in particular began to write songs that gave this. I call it Ezekiel song, which is writing for the church, and then along comes Daniel's song, because both those prophets lived at the same time, and both were very significant to the lifeblood of, I would call it, the world in some ways. Ezekiel saying, "Can these dry bones live?" And Daniel go, "The writing's on the wall." And actually, that's a song, writing on the wall. How did that form in you? Because there must have been some kind of kickback, in the sense that you were writing with a different language. Your language wasn't "God will make a way out of the way." You were kind of like, you know, love is the key, you know. Where did that come from, BeBe?
It was always inside of me, even as a young child. I love storytelling. And I found that different writers, especially in mainstream, knew how to really tell a story. You know, and it's not just a recording of a record, but I was just in New York the other day and we're walking down the street, one of my favorite songs. And to me, it was like, I said, that's how I want to write a song, was Green Acres. Now, you don't know nothing about Green Acres. Green Acres was a television show.
Absolutely, yeah.
70s. You do, you know? And so the opening song was, Green Acres is the place to be. Farm living is the life for me. Land spread it out so far and wide. Keep Manhattan, but give me that countryside. So he was marrying someone that was from New York, and he was from the South in the country. And she said, New York is where I'd rather stay. I just get allergic smelling hay. I just adore a penthouse view. Darling, I love you, but give me Park Avenue. Dun, 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 dun. The chores. Dun, 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 dun. The stores. Dun, 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 dun. Fresh air. Dun, 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 dun.
He's still writing that. I love that.
You are my wife. Goodbye, city life. Green Acres, we are there. What?
Right.
That's how I wanted to write a song.
But what was incredible about that for me was, okay, we'd heard the Winans. We'd heard much of the American gospel. I was born in Britain, so we'd heard much of the choir stuff. But here were you, and your language didn't seem to be church. What was the impact of, let's say, the church listening to your stuff for the first time when you kind of like, or what made you go, man, I'm going to do this. I don't care what they say.
Oh, this is the one thing that I knew. See, Andre Crouch was one of our heroes.
Absolutely.
And so he was like, oh man, these songs are incredible. Now, I know he got ridiculed. So I knew we would be ridiculed and misunderstood by some. At the same time, this is who I was. You know, even though I'm a Winans and I have all of us have different fingerprints.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Our fingerprints are not the same because we are blood and we're this, you know, from the same father and mother. But I had a different relationship with music and the way I expressed myself. And I wasn't afraid to do that. And I had the permission of two people who were churchy as well, but that was my mom and my dad. To be who I was. Don't try to copy them. Don't try to be nothing other than who you are. And knew that I wasn't as intelligent as people wanted to make me. How did you just cross those barriers? Every song, every CD that I would record, I would hold the CD in my hand when the record companies would send it to us right before we released it. And then I would say, God, I did my part. And then I would sit it on the dresser and I would say, I'm excited to see what you're going to do with that. And it went everywhere. I
mean, one of the profound things is obviously one of the great producers of, you know, I've been a musician, obviously growing up with the music, and most certainly your form of music was so different, and we really called it contemporary then, you know. I mean, you went on another step rhythmically and beat-wise and chordally and even melodically than the Winans brothers, you know, and they were pushing the boat. And this is the thing that drew me to you. And you know, Keith Thomas is like an amazing mainstream producer, and he worked with one of my good friends. I was a music director at the time, which was Levine Hudson. You know, and I don't know if you know about Levine. I mean, you know, it's a British girl. I was a music director, so I was getting all these arrangements going, and then I was hearing your stuff, and I was like, oh my Lord, the voices, the arrangements, and the melodies were not necessarily worship songs,
right?
But they became the songs of a generation that were pushing for something more. Was there something really spiritual that really made you go, this is how I write? And
see, the beauty on what you just answered the question. It was worship songs for me.
Absolutely. It
gave me worship songs for others who were introduced to us by way sometimes of radio, R&B radio, of club songs, that different mixes that ended up in the club. So what I love about God is, I learned this early on. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. Are y'all kidding me? Your ways are not my ways. So it was easy for me to see and hear the Church of God in Christ, or there's churches, denominations saying, this ain't gospel music. It's like, really? Who did you create gospel music?
Well, this is the thing, BeBe. This is the thing. What your music did in the UK, most definitely, was it's through another, I call it a significant physiological or psychological, should I say, twist. I call it spiritual, that because we were in England, we were hearing sounds of pop and lots of different pops. I mean, we grew up on the Beatles, and there was rock and roll guys, the Rolling Stones, and all of a sudden in our Christian world came a BeBe and a CeCe Winans writing songs that didn't say Jesus. Yeah, but every single lyric, we knew they were talking about Jesus.
Right.
And obviously, Eternal, again, the girls from Eternal, they're friends of mine. I was actually their guitarist for many years when they were a gospel band before they went. And you writing that song and, and seeing it on top of the pops. And we were like, hold on a second. Like, you've got to understand, our church worlds never met the mainstream. But in many ways, what you did was give a license to a whole generation who went out, Faye Simpson. I know Faye's a good friend of yours. Faye's a good friend. Yeah. Grew up with Faye. These are all the guys that I grew up with. Ronnie, her brother, and but you gave us a voice that our gospel music and the music we were creating we didn't have to be ashamed of it, but it could sit right alongside with the strong message of Christ. Obviously,
and see that itself, when you understand who God is, you realize, first of all, I can't even don't even try to share his glory, because that is what God will do. But we have to say yes. We can't be afraid of what people may say or what they think or what they do. And to me, I learned early on, I really did learn early on, before we released any of those records that you talk about, that God had a different pathway that he was taking.
Come on now.
And in saying yes, I was able to enter your life, into other people's lives, and embolden them, and at the same time get them to understand that God is so much vast, so much bigger than we can even imagine, right? And so I continue to see that, not in just in the form of recording, but in the television world, in the film world, and in all Broadway and all these other things. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm coming there because I serve a God who is greater than all y'all.
Absolutely, and in actual fact, I think that's part of the testimony, BeBe. You're celebrating 60 years this year, and I'm really encouraged by that, because you're still doing it. I love the work that you did with those and how you empowered those Korean. Is it Korean? I think they're from
Korean soul.
And they're absolutely soulful guys, but not just soulful. There's a sense where they understand what they're singing. And that to me is the story that I would say about you, in that not only is it about the music, but you want the people that you work with to understand where it's coming from. And I mentioned Daniel's song, and Daniel's song did not sound like Ezekiel's song, right? But here is BeBe Winans doing a Daniel song that actually it begins to unpack the mystery and the questions that the world ask, and how
they're asking a lot, and they continue to ask. So our work is never done. And so you mentioned Korean soul, who probably will show up September the 16th. There's other people that are coming that's going to be surprises. One of those surprises I'm revealing today, Vashawn Mitchell will be with us.
Oh, Vashawn, I know Vashawn. Yeah, great guy.
Oh, yeah. He'll be there as well.
So, is there no British artist going to be celebrating with you?
I can't give you everything, but I will say, and a lot of people ask, so why y'all coming? Why London? Is because there's just special people. London has a special place in my heart.
Absolutely.
So you're going to see some of those people as well. But it is exciting for me in this time, because what age does for you in a nice way.
Yep.
You don't care about what nobody said.
Exactly. You've done it. You've been there. Hey, just keep doing it.
I don't care what you think about me. Are you kidding? I didn't wonder what you thought about me when I was 17.
This is a deep question.
Yeah.
You know, the deep question for me, you know, is you've been doing what you do for all the years that you've been doing it. I don't know the exact figures, years, but what has kept you motivated?
People. Every time I really am a people person. I love people. And so I am moved by people. And so when I see people hurting, I'm motivated. I really am. And not only through song, but through action as well. A friend of mine used to say, you know what, you give your last away. And I will, because I love people. So I'm motivated by young people. I'm motivated by young artists. I'm motivated by hurting people to do what I can. And music has the power of healing, of delivering, and most important too is making people smile.
Yes.
Making people laugh as you go through the hardships. You know, we talked earlier today of the song that I did with Korean Soul. Laughter does good, just like a medicine.
Yeah.
And it does. But I remember how that song happened. I locked myself out the house in the heat of an August summer, and I called my assistant, and she was on her way to come and deliver me from that, and called me back and said, "You ain't gonna believe what I did. I locked myself out the house." So we had to call a locksmith. It took about 25 minutes. So I sat in that garage and I wrote, "Tomorrow may bring 2 or 3 things that you don't like. And if it does, you can rise above and win the fight. What am I saying? I'm saying laughter does good, just like the medicine." So instead of being angry,
yeah,
I started laughing.
You, instead of having a road rage, you had a road praise. I'm so deeply honored to speak to you, because I have followed your music. You've been really inspirational to me. I'm a worship leader, and that's why I get to meet your sister. I mean, she sings a lot for Morris Cerullo. In actual fact, I'm one of Morris Cerullo's worship leaders, obviously passed this year. So over the years, I've seen her quite a bit on the platform. We've shared both myself and her husband. So I'm one of the few British guys that get to do stuff like that. But I want to thank you for just your soundscape, that we get to know a bit of your life and a bit of things that makes your heart go, and actually it gives voice to our soul. You know, and the music you've done, the grooves, the beats, you know, working with guys like Tommy Sims and some of the most amazing musicians that I would never have known about if BeBe was on a BeBe record, you know. I get to meet them, and I get to meet you. So it's a real honor. And I'm praying that this is not the end of an era only, but this is the beginning of of something very, very profound in the earth. We've reached and arrived in a new situation in the earth. There are wars that weren't there 10 years ago. There were situations in this world. But I pray that the song of Daniel that will rise up in you, that the question marks that will come around the world, from Asia to Australasia, from South America to through the Americas, to the Caribbean, through everywhere, that those songs that you birth in this season will answer those questions. And the writing on the wall is not a mystery, but in BeBe Winans, my God, God is using him to continue touching the lives of people. Thank you so much, BeBe. And I'm hoping to see you on the day.
Yes.
And we celebrate with you. And thank you for bringing your celebrations to the United Kingdom. And may God just bless you and everyone that's coming.
Well, he blessed me today by speaking with you. So thank you. I appreciate it. And I accept it. I really do.
Thank you so much. Hey, bless you.